I leave you guys alone for 10 months and the whole market changes. I just left you alone for 10 months. The whole market changes. My name is Shane Willis. Welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. I guess I'm going to have to bring this back. I had stopped doing it this year. We're in now October of 23, and I had kind of stopped doing it. Last one I did was in December last year. And it was just part of what I was doing. I didn't think that it was going to change this much, and so I felt a little redundant saying the same thing pretty much over and over and over again. I did get quite a few emails. I got quite a few phone calls. I actually got stopped on a run this year saying, hey, we kind of missed the show. So I appreciate that. But now with the market going completely changing, I'm not going to say bonkers. It's just changing. The market's changing. But there's a lot of similarities the same too. There's just some trips. Let's try this again. There's some tricks and tips that I used early in my career and even about a decade ago that we're having to reutilize again. Things like assumption of mortgage. Assumption of mortgage is not as easy as everybody makes it out to be, but it is a good option for some people. There's also contract for deed. There is lease options. There are 3-2-1 buy downs for mortgages because rates are in the 7s and 8s, which are about normal. 6, 7, 8 is normal rates. We just got spoiled in those 2s and 3s. But, you know, 6, 7, 8s are where we are right now. So how do we navigate this? And since I kept getting a lot of the same questions over and over and over again, I figured that I would bring this show back. I'm not going to explain all of those this particular episode. I will explain them over the next few episodes. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit notifications so that as I bring these out, you can understand some of the concepts. Today, I'm actually just going to mainly discuss a buyer's demand and where we are as sellers. If you notice every time on the second half of the show, if you ever watch the show, I always break down Escambia and Santa Rosa County on where we are as a sellers and inventory levels, because inventory drives appreciation. Well, there's also a second component to that, and that is buyers. The buyer's demand has gone down. Buyer's demand has gone down. It is not 21, it is not 22. Okay, I've talked to some sellers this past week, and everybody was thinking that, well, we can list it $10,000 over list. That's not working anymore. Okay, it's a different market. There may be still less inventory, which we will see in just a minute, but that strategy doesn't work. Okay, and I'll show you why. I actually have an extra slide at the end that I'm going to show you why that does not work these days. Okay, the buyer demand's gone down. The seller inventory has gone down. We've actually increased some since the last show I did, okay? So we did have quite low inventory then, 2020, 2021. And it was different reasons. A lot of that was COVID related. Even 2022, we were kind of coming out of that. We didn't know what was going on with the economy. Now, interest rates for that buyer's demand that's bringing that down, it's actually stopping sellers from selling. I read a Wall Street Journal article this week that said, you know, you're downsizing generation where people had a bigger house, but now the kids are gone and they wanted to downsize from the, 3,000 square foot house to the 1,800 square foot house, whatever. All right, 2,500 square foot house down to a 1,200 square foot house. They're not wanting to do that. And the whole reason they're not wanting to do that is because of the interest rates. If you sell what you got now and you're locked in at 3% or 4%, and you go buy a much smaller house, but your payment's the same, it doesn't make as much financial sense. It just doesn't, right? So if we haven't got that going on, then why would we downsize? Unless it's got other aspects. I've seen some people that it's like, look, the yard's really becoming trouble. We don't want to pay anyone. The pool is just something we don't ever use and are paying for it. And so there's other financial decisions that need to be made. But why would you? So that was nationwide. We've seen that a little bit here. There hasn't been as much, but we still have an inventory problem. You'll see that in just a second. We still have an inventory problem. You just have buyers that are demanding a little more. All right. Sellers are getting a little more realistic. So I don't want you to make sure you stay tuned after you see the numbers as far as inventory levels, especially if you're considering selling, because there's some reality checks on all sides. All right. Now, is it 2009? No. Are we still seeing appreciation in real estate? Yes. Were there a few months this year to where we saw depreciation month over month? Yes, all under 1%. It's like 0.2 depreciation, 0.4 depreciation. But then the next month, it was like 1.6 appreciation. So overall, we're probably going to wind up at 2, 3, 4%, which is a normal market. That's what it's supposed to be. So I don't know why people think that's going to be different. Anyways, I tell you what, let's get to numbers so you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. Understand buyer's demand has gone down. The buyers are asking for more. And with lawsuits and everything else, which I'll cover over the next couple of weeks, it's going to get even more crazy. So spring buying season should be interesting. As we move into the holiday season, your serious buyers are out there. So if you're thinking about selling over the holiday season, your serious buyers are out there. But your time on market is still starting to get longer. I'll explain all that with the numbers right now. Let's go take them out. Let's go.
Signifies a sacred commitment.
Whoops, wrong clip. Sorry about that. Let's go. Okay, for those of you who have never seen the show, I always start with this slide right here. It says if we have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, we have a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months considered a seller's market. What the slide does not say, anything greater than 9 months is considered a hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3 months considered a hyper seller's market. We'll start in Escambia County and look. It might come as a shock to some people, but we are still in a hyper seller's market for most price points. Your 0 to 50 shows 3 months inventory. It's been on the market for 26 days and there is 1 active. I think that's a lot. There's a pocket that goes up between 550 and 600 that is 4.4 months. So that bumps out of the hyper seller's market and into just a seller's market. And we do have 650 to 699 at 6.8 months. And I just looked at my computer screen. I apologize. This is not Escambia County. However, it is Santa Rosa County. So this is Santa Rosa County's numbers. Most of your price points, 100 to 150, 1.8 months. We've only got 4 actives. Looks like the biggest price point is between 300 and 350,000. 138 of them active right now. Okay. Average days on market, 44. We've got 115 active when you look at 350 to 400,000, but the average days on market's 54. See what I mean? The average days on market have gone a lot higher, and I'm going to show you, like I said, some other slides here in a minute. So that makes more sense. Even though you have those inventories there, it's still not as many under contract. So your appetite for 250 to about 400 is strong, but it's still, there's quite a bit of time on market. Now, some of these are builders. So sometimes they'll put one property up that is just that, almost an outline design, right? That's just that one property design. Now they'll sell 8 or 9 of them in the neighborhood, but leave that one active. So it kind of messes with the stats a little bit. Now let's try Escambia County. Escambia County kind of looks the same. 0 to 50, there's nothing. We've got the 350 to 400 in Escambia County is out of the hyper sellers and into a sellers with an average days on market of 60. So now we're starting to get 2 months on market. Do I think that's going to go a little higher as we get into the holiday season? Yes, I do. And that's something that sellers need to pay attention to. 300 to 350, still 2.2 months worth of inventory, but 51 days on market, all right? So here's the slide that I wanted to show, especially the sellers are like, well, everything's still a hyper sellers. Oh, by the way, and we get into Escambia County, 550 and above is out of the hyper sellers. 550 to 600,000 is 3.5 months. And you get into the luxury, 700,000. Oh, look at this. It's showing yellow, which would be neutral. But if you understand that anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. It's not blue yet, all right? But But you start getting luxury right now, the buyers are starting to get more. They're starting to ask for more. It might not be price. And I've said this plenty of times on this show. It might be terms. They might get better terms. So you might get concessions to pay for closing costs, maybe to buy a mortgage rate down, or owner, seller held back, or an assumption. I mean, there might be some terms involved, but they're getting more. It's not just the Wild West of 2020 where seller could just refuse because they're going to get another offer tomorrow. Not anymore. Here's an interesting slide that I pulled up from our area. And this is our median since August of 22 to September of 23. Our median list price. Notice anything about this particular slide? It has gone down some. So our median in September of 22 was $334,950. Now we're at $309,150. And that comes to a lot of pricing. So if you're a seller, listen to me. We used to, 12 months ago, we could take a price, add the appreciation to it, 10% even. So if it was worth $300,000, but the last sold was 12 months ago and I got 10 months, then I could put it on the market for $330,000. Now you can't add that much appreciation normally. All right, normally you can't. I'm never going to say never. But normally you can't. You need to price it right. There are different strategies. Sometimes pricing it slightly under its value will get the buyer's attention right now. And that's when you start having bidding wars, which still happen. I had a buyer the other day that lost a property in a bidding war because they thought that bidding wars still don't happen. And since the property had been on the market 40 days, they thought the listing agent was lying. Well, I knew the listing agent, so I called him. I'm like, we really fighting somebody? They said, yeah, you really are. And it's not just one, you're fighting two other people. All right, and we lost. And the buyer went, oh, doggone. I didn't think that was happening anymore. Yeah, it does. It still happens, okay? So that list price has come down some, but that's our median. That's also, I mean, when you take in the factors of sellers not wanting to come on the market, like I talked about at the beginning of the show, okay? Well, that impacts the median, right? So some of the prices are just dropping a little bit, but these are list prices. List doesn't mean as much as sales, but it still means some towards sales. So pay attention to that. All right, listen, like I said before, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, because next couple of weeks, I'm going to start explaining stuff. Next week, I think I'm going to explain what an assumption is, who can do an assumption, and what your process is. All right, so big hint, if you've ever served in the military, pay attention next week, all right? Us veterans have got a different play that we can play, but there's also a lot of rules to that game. So I think that's what we'll probably cover next week. And then we'll talk about buy downs for the buyer that are paid for by the seller as part of a negotiation on price. We'll probably talk about that the following week. So that'll be scary because I guess that'll be breaking into Halloween. Anyways, I got quite a few things coming up, all right? Now that we've changed the market a lot, I'll make sure that I can help you navigate through, give you some good ideas on what you can do to be successful. But I always in this show, I'm bringing up our instant offer program. And if you haven't seen or heard about our instant offer program, there's a link below. Basically what the instant offer program is if you say, look, I got to go. I give the example, last year I had a couple that he got a heck of a job offer, but he had to be in Dallas in 10 days. That was it. There was no getting out of it. All right, he'd inherited the house. The title was clear, that was fine, but there was a lot of work needed to be done. He said, I can put it on the market. And I told him, I said, if you put it on the market, you'll probably get more. But I represent a conglomerate of investors, and this is what they can offer you. So usually I'll come out within about 24 hours, you will get an offer immediately. And it's, you know, as is, there's no commission on that point. There's nothing, right? So that's an instant offer. If you want more information about that, like I said, their link is below. Stay tuned. It's an interesting market, but this is going to be fun. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?